were supposed to be at Maroko police station, only 13 or 14 of them were giving arms for guard duty. All the others were posted out, and yet a DPO and the head of operations in Lagos will come to the panel and say, "Oh, we are just stay put in our barrack, in our station." The same thing on the 21st. You see, about 23 people were out, armed. So let me tell you, as they say in Yoruba, "Eroju ole emu, eyin le roju ole te emu." Omo yo sagbaso, o ngba fujo wale. You are the one who have refused to be responsible and apprehend a criminal. Your son is not high responsibility to certain officers.
All right, additional Golano, this conversation can go on for days, and it would, continue to be, unveil many layers, or,
Hotels Lagos, Nigeria.
Featuring Africa Music Business Summit, a platform for business networking and interaction among music professionals.
Join our Freeman Music Fest, an evening of non-stop music concerts with live broadcasts and performances from African music superstars. Date is Friday, November 19th from 6 p.m.
Sunday, November 21st comes with all the glitz and glam from Africa's music superstars, celebrities and international personalities at Afrima Awards.
Steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you.
To party right from the comfort of your TV screen. The Rundown's here to save the day. From freshly baked videos to the classics to the youngins.
Possibly.
Right. So essentially, back in March, when I first broke the story, Itunu Olajumoke Babalola had been in a prison cell in Bondoku in northeastern Ivory Coast since 2019, basically for a crime that she did not commit. She went to the police, got money from them. They tend to favor the crime of human trafficking because under Ivorian law, the bar for evidence is very low. And the statutory, the mandatory minimum sentence, I believe, is 10 years at least. So she was convicted on the sole testimony of an 8-year-old child that she had never met before. Testimony which was contradictory in several places. But all the confessional statement she was forced to sign was written in French. The court proceedings were carried out in French. The public defender lawyer assigned to her was French-speaking. Sentencing was delivered in French. Everything was done in French, and she was not a French speaker. She was born and raised in Ibadan. She only moved to Ivory Coast in search of so-called greener pastures. So she ended up in prison for 20 years. After 2 suicide attempts, she had 10 years knocked off the sentence. So she was supposed to be there for 10 years. In March, she was able to reach out to me through an intermediary, and the story came to my attention, and I put it out there. So as far back as March 15, I believe it was, there have been responses from different organizations within the Nigerian government. So the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, specifically NIDCOM, and its chair, Abike Dabiri, had both responded on social media at the time, stating that they're organizing a fact-finding mission to go to Bonduku to confirm that all the details in this case were true, which they actually did. And they went there and they confirmed these things and did absolutely nothing. So on Sunday, basically, I think it was around 2 p.m. Nigerian time on Sunday, when someone contacted me on Facebook, a complete stranger, to tell me that, to ask me, are you the journalist that broke the story of Becky Paul, which was the alias that she was known as in Cote d'Ivoire? I say, yes, I'm the one. Is there a problem? It says, yes, she's unconscious, basically. She's been transferred to the hospital in Abidjan, and the hospital authorities are looking for her parents' contact details because it's looking as if she's not going to make it. And then the person sent me pictures and videos of her condition. She was in a catatonic state. She was completely unresponsive. It looked really bad. So I put out a final, Hail Mary, hit and hope on social media to try and embarrass the Nigerian embassy in Cote d'Ivoire and the NIDCOM and Abike Dabiri into taking some sort of action. For 8 months, you've been putting out statements to the public saying that you're doing this, you're doing that. You have done absolutely nothing. She has still been in the same cell all this while. Nothing has changed. So now she's about to die. So can you please finally do something? And then I myself was running around trying to make some private arrangements, trying to organize a fundraiser on social media, trying to figure out how to get money across to her. It's actually very complicated to transfer ECOWAS region, which is surprising. So in the midst of all of that, then a friend who was right there with her in Nigerian government institutions, they did absolutely nothing, and she died, and that was the end of that. And then after she died, and then I put the story out there again that yes, she's dead, fine, and I hope all of you are happy now. Then it became an issue of it became a competition for who can cover their own backside. So NIDCOM then the very next day, within 12 hours, put out a press release, basically saying it's not our fault. Then Abike Dabiri made a series of TV appearances, also saying the same thing: it's not my fault.
The commission got to find out about 5 months ago, and then they also involved that the Nigerian government got involved, got a lawyer to appeal the case, and they had started, the
tweets from her dated March 15, 2021. As far as I understand, from March to November is 8 months. So she has been away for at least 8 months. So I'm sure why she came on TV to tell that kind of lie. It's so easy to verify. It's right there on her Twitter handle. Anyone can go there and verify this for themselves. And during these 8 months, all she and NIDCOM have been doing is coming out and putting out statements from time to time. Oh, they're hiring a lawyer. They're doing this. They're doing that. Meanwhile, in their communication with me, when she says that they did not do anything, and I'm not going to have it because this lady has died finally. So I think now that the outcome that everybody was hoping for hasn't happened, and the worst outcome possible has happened, she's dead. I think it's insulting to her memory now to still come out and then try and remove responsibility from who is actually responsible, right? Abike Dabiri is responsible. NIDCOM is responsible, and they failed. They did not do their job, and now they're coming around. They're coming out with statements and telling lies, even trying to infer that somehow this was Itulu's fault. That it was a very difficult case, and the fact that she used an alias made it more difficult than it would have been, which is not true because they are aware right from the beginning.
Huge sacrifice, the massive sacrifice that NIDCOM has made, that they drove 4 hours. I saw it in the statement and I was shocked.
She also even made...
I was stunned, actually, that they had to make that statement, that there's a 4-hour route. And so what?
Just during the interview she granted recently, she also made mention of the fact that, where she actually lived was really, really far, and they made all of that effort. And at some point, you also need to find out the fact that, maybe she was involved in child trafficking and what have you. David, just like David has actually mentioned. But I'll allow you, to go ahead.
David, I want to, ask... Is Itulu's case, another example of Nigeria's, the Nigerian state's reaction to the value of the Nigerian life here in Nigeria or in any other part of the world, those in diaspora also? Or is this just a failure of NIDCOM as a body?
It's both. It's the continuation of the regular posturing of the Nigerian state. clearly, as I mentioned elsewhere yesterday, the Nigerian state does not think of itself primarily as an institution whose job is to protect and further the interests of Nigerian people. It doesn't see itself as that. The Nigerian state sees itself as an institution whose job is to pay itself salaries and to make money. And it just so happens that, if the way to do that is to occupy an office supposedly, on paper exists to help Nigerians, well, so be it. But in practice, it's not going to do anything. And NIPCOM is just an extension of that. Why was NIPCOM created in the first place? There's a Ministry of Foreign Affairs already, right? And then you have this MDA, which is created to basically, which is supposedly under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but which is now competing with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So there's always this uncertainty about who is even doing what. So I remember, I think it was last year when a lady from Kano State, I think her name was Zainab Balil, was arrested in Saudi Arabia with I believe it was cocaine in her possession, with drugs in her possession. And you know what the Saudi law states regarding people who traffic drugs into the country. And the Nigerian state moved heaven and earth to make sure that this lady was out within 4 months, right? And I'm going to come back to that later. But the point I'm making here is that when she came back, then you had Abigail Dabiri and Geoffrey Onyama, who is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, involved in this very embarrassing public catfight for who was supposed to get credit for freeing this girl from Saudi custody. So you had NIPCOM going against the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So really, that alone just tells you that it's all about the clout chasing. It's all about who gets publicly credited for something. It's not really about doing the work. It's not really about protecting the interests of Nigerians. It's just about putting out statements, looking good wherever possible, getting paid your salaries and extra codes and whatever. And then when a Nigerian citizen genuinely needs help in a position like that of it, he then gets Abigail Dabiri's PA constantly telling the family that there is no money. There is no money. And how much is the money involved? 1 million naira. Is 1 million naira a fantastic sum of money for any kind of Nigerian government institution to raise, even at local level, much less federal level? But somehow, it's not their problem. So you people should sort yourselves out. Well, we are the government. Our job is to enjoy ourselves and to be in office, to be in power. That's what we are here for. We're here for the trappings of power, the appearance of authority, the form of office, but not the substance, not the responsibility, not the work.
All right, David Ndeye, just before we coast it down, at what point do you think the Nigerian government should have intervened in the case of Itinu Babalola?
Right from the very start, when this ordeal started, the first institution she reached out to was the Nigerian embassy in Cote d'Ivoire. And the Nigerian embassy, again, in keeping with the posturing of the Nigerian government, basically made no effort whatsoever to try to resolve the situation, to try and help their citizens. What they were more interested in was how to milk her money. So because is an ECOWAS member state, as is Nigeria, as long as you can prove that you're a Nigerian citizen, nowhere in the ECOWAS region can you be classified as an illegal migrant or an illegal resident. It's not true. They gave her that false information specifically so that they could extract money from her, more than 10 times the face value of the Nigerian passport as of 2019. And then bear in mind that in actual, because I've spoken to a lawyer about this, all she actually needed was something called a consular card to prove her citizenship, to prove her identity. But that's supposed to be issued free of charge. And instead, the Nigerian embassy in Ivory Coast was trying to extract 400,000 naira from her. Because that's what the Nigerian government exists to exploit Nigerian people, to exploit some citizens. So right from the start, she reached out, and the Nigerian government at that point could have intervened, could have made this whole problem go away right from the start. They didn't. And she spent the best part of 2 years going back and forth with them, trying to negotiate, trying to fix it in-house, and also very much, she didn't want to soil her family name. She didn't want people back home to know that, Itunu Babalola is in prison. So she was there, trying to solve it quietly before eventually she realized that these people are not interested, these people are not going to help. So let me see if I can reach out to the media in Nigeria, to journalists, somebody who can help put my story out, which is what she did in March. And then after that story came out, then the Nigerian government again got interested, started pretending to be active because there was a groundswell of publicity. And as soon as the publicity, the temporary spot of publicity died, their interest waned too. And that was that. And then now that she has died, they're just waiting.
We'll bring her in if we get a response from her. She replied with a press release instead. David, what happens next, and what steps are going to be taken, moving forward?
So first of all, the most important thing is to get Itunu's body back, sent back to Nigeria, returned to Nigeria, so that her family can look at her one last time and give her a befitting burial. I'm actually in the process of putting together a fundraiser for her dad. So if anyone uses Twitter here, go to my Twitter handle, my pinned tweet. The first tweet you see is the fundraiser. The account is his personal account, his direct bank account. I think it's a Wema account. So essentially, we're doing a fundraiser for that. As a bargaining chip, right, to make him do what she wanted. So I got very angry when I heard that. I actually recorded and uploaded the conversation without his consent, even though you're not supposed to do that. But I was angry enough to do that. And I said, look, let's all raise this money ourselves and get this lady's body back from Cote d'Ivoire ourselves. Let's completely remove the Nigerian government's relevance in this situation. If Abike Dabiri doesn't want to help, let her come and eat her help. We can do this ourselves. So that's the current situation now. We're trying to crowdfund. So if you go to my handle, that's at David Hundeyin on Twitter. The first thing you see there is the fundraiser. So any amount you have, if it's 500 naira, please send. The account name is Emmanuel, blah, blah, blah. That's a that. You see details there. So that's currently what we're doing.
All right. David Hundeyin, thank you so much. I always enjoy speaking with you. Sadly, we never speak on happy stories. It's always some tragedy or the other. But thank you very much for your time this morning. If you missed out, remember where to catch up on social media platforms. It's
at PlusTvAfrica on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube as well. Do not forget.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on PlusTvAfrica, please call 0906 000 5719 or